Margin of error. The margin of error is a statistic expressing the amount of random sampling error in the result of a survey. The larger the margin of error, the less confidence one should have that a poll's results would reflect the results of a census of the entire population. Clinical audits. Clinical or medical audits are part of the continuous quality improvement process that focus on specific issues or aspects of healthcare and clinical practice. They consist of measuring a clinical outcome or a process against well-defined standards set on principles of evidence-based medicine. Audit for internal review. Audit typically single-phase studies or periodically quality improvement projects, research projects. Proportion of patients reviewed within 4 hours of presentations. Proportion of patients with a false risk assessment conducted. Clinical audits 95% confidence interval. For 100 samples drawn randomly from the sample population, the 95% confidence interval for 95 will contain the population mean mu. Sample size proportion estimate margin of error. For question with expected estimated proportion of 50% and with 95% confidence interval and unknown large population. If the sample size 10, the margin of error is zero point 0.3. If the sample size is 75, the margin of error is 0.115. If the sample size is 400, the margin of error 0.05. This showed the sample size is small, the margin of error is large. Sample size proportion effects of proportions. Assuming unknown large population, margin of error plus minus 5% and 95% confidence interval. If proportion 0, the sample size required is 0. If proportion 1 or 100%, the sample size required is 0. If the proportion is 50% or zero point 0.5, the required sample size is 385, which is the maximum one. Sample size proportion effects of population. Assuming proportion of zero point 0.5 or 50%, margin of error plus minus 5% and 95% confidence interval. If the population unknown greater than 100,000, the sample size required is 385. If we reduce the population like 50, the sample size is 45, like 20, the sample size is 20. Sample size mean estimated precision in mean. For variable with mean of 100, sample standard deviation of 50 and with 95% confidence interval, unknown large proportion. If the sample size is 10, the precision is 31, large precision. If the sample size is large, 385, the precision is 5. Sample size mean effects of sample standard deviation. Assuming mean of 100, precision of plus minus 5, in the mean with 95% confidence interval and unknown large population. Sample standard deviation is low 5, the required sample size is 4. If high 100, the required sample size is 1537. Sample size mean effects of populations. Assuming mean of 100, precision of plus minus 5 in the means, sample standard deviation of 50 and 95% confidence interval. If the unknown population greater than 100,000, the required sample size is 385, and if the population size is 100, the required sample size is 80, and the sample size, if required population is 20, the sample size also 20. Where do we get this knowledge? Previous published studies, pilot studies. If information is lacking, there is no good way to calculate the sample size.
Please subscribe and like our channel and press bell icon for more videos.